I read 12 books this month. Here they all are. I don't know how I managed 12 books, but we're gonna wrap them up. We may be here a while. Let's give this a go. I think picking that stack up has just been my workout for the entire day. 12 books. The first book is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This was one that I have been anticipating reading for such a long time. I adored reading Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr at the start of last year. I thought it was fabulous. It's probably one of my favourite books of all time, so I had high hopes for this one. For me, this book did not hit in the same way that Cloud Cuckoo Land did. The build-up and the epicness of that book was just unmatched for me. I wanted a bit more of that in this. We had two different stories going on, one of a young blind girl living in Paris and one of a boy joining the Hitler Youth. It's all set during the Second World War and it's set over, I think, a couple of years at least. And the stories coming together was kind of underwhelming for me. I think that's where this let me down. The writing was beautiful and it was exactly the kind of writing that Cloud Cuckoo Land gave off on that beautiful style, but the actual story itself for me wasn't quite hitting where I thought it would hit, unfortunately. I did give this 4 out of 5 stars, so I still really enjoyed it, but I felt it was a little bit underwhelming. I think I'd really hyped it up in my head and it just didn't quite hit the 5-star territory, but I still liked it. It's still a great book and I can see why this has a lot of hype surrounding it. But of the two I've read from Anthony Doerr at the moment, Cloud Cuckoo Land is my favourite. You will definitely have seen a couple of the books here featured in vlogs because the next one I'm wrapping up is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. I read this as part of my waking up at 6 AM every day for a week to read more challenge, and I think that's probably partially why there's 12 books in this wrap up, because I did indeed read more. This is a romantic comedy. It's a bit more than that. I would say it's a social commentary as well on the expectations of beauty standards on men and women and the expectations of dating within that and a lot of societal pressures. I think it was interesting. It had a lot to say and I liked that side of it. I did not find it very funny. I thought I would find it more funny given that it's literally called romantic comedy and it's following characters who write for a comedy show. But it wasn't quite hitting there. I think where it hit for me was more the kind of comments it was making about beauty standards, and I really enjoyed that side of it. I felt this was quite isolating to start with. It was only set for like the first half of the book in the character's place of work, and that for me just became a little bit boring, but it did change halfway through and it did pick up a little bit with the pacing, and I did like where it went, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read She and Her Cat, which was so lovely. This is written by Makoto Shinkai and Naruki Nagakawa and is translated by Ginny Tapley Takamori. This is beautiful. This is the story of cats just being there for people and helping them in different ways and how all these cats link together. This is also a graphic novel, which I do now have on my wish list because I enjoyed this so much. I would like to read it in graphic novel format because there were a couple of illustrations in this that I just thought were really lovely and I just wanted to dive into them. I want to find my favourite one. This one I think is my favourite. I just love that. This was so cute. It was so wholesome. And it was a very fleeting story, but it was really beautifully tied together. I don't often go for things that kind of break the story down into short stories. Whilst this wasn't a short story collection as such, it did kind of have a little bit of that way about it because you went through multiple different characters' stories, but they had certain links between them. But I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. I was saving this for the summertime because I thought it was kind of a summery romance read. It's a bit more than that. It is a summary romance read, but this is all following our main character who has suffered a terrible loss, and years later she is trying to date again, except the one person that she wants to date, she can't really have them. This is interesting. I can't really say too much about this without giving spoilers, but it definitely went in a direction I didn't expect it to go in. I was very intrigued throughout this as to why our main character wasn't going to be like able to date the person that she wanted to date. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. This also has an art theme running through it. Our main character is an artist and I loved being able to see that side of things as well. I love it when we have some kind of passion brought into books like this and just to bulk out the characters and give them more characterization. I really enjoyed that side of it. And just generally it was interesting and fun and different and I really liked that about it and it kept me on my toes, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then unfortunately I read You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. If you want to see my full thoughts on this book and one of the other ones I'm going to be wrapping up in this vlog, I have got a reading vlog reading these as well. This was so rubbish. The characters were so bland and boring, and I just wanted to shake them and be like, give me something more. They were really unlikable. Both of them were unlikable. Like, they had nothing going for them other than their interactions with each other, and even those weren't that interesting. There felt like there was no passion in the pages of this story, and I just felt really bored by it. It was about this friendship between these two people. They go on holiday together every summer, and then they realise they might be more than friends. I thought it would have more of a travel element to it because they go on holiday every summer, but that was kind of just flickered over. It was just so dull and bland, and I'm really sorry because I know that a lot of people love Emily Henry, and I do like Emily Henry's writing. I just didn't like this, so I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Midwinter Blood by Marcus Sedgwick. This is a folklore-esque story that is set over years, following these two characters that kind of keep reoccurring in each of these stories, and it's set on an island where people don't seem to age. It's an interesting concept, and it does have this folkloric element to it, and I like the fact that we go through all these different time periods, seeing these characters come into it as different characters along the way. This is the kind of book that you don't often, you don't necessarily get all the answers for by the end of it. So if you don't like books where you get a clear, concise conclusion, you will be left with answers for this. This might not be for you. You do get a conclusion, and it does feel like it's complete, and it does feel like it's rounded itself off, but also at the same time there's so much that's happened in such a short book that there's so much more that you want to ask and get answers for. But I think this was really well done, and I really enjoyed it. It was very different to anything I'd read before, and I loved the idea of the historical being brought into the contemporary and the futuristic time periods as well, and how everything crossed over together to make the overriding plot. And I think that was really interesting. And I think the fact that I still had questions at the end of it wasn't because it was badly written or anything like that. It wasn't. It was because the author wanted us to have those questions still. So I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read another Emily Henry. I read Happy Place. Now, this one, this is following a couple who are part of a friendship group. They've been together for ages, and they've actually broken up, and they are away for a week with this friendship group, and they're going to pretend they haven't broken up so that they don't ruin this time away. This one hit really, really hard. This one echoed a lot of things I had felt when a previous relationship of mine ended. I found this really difficult to read in terms of an emotional state. I ended up picking this up as an audiobook because I thought it would kind of remove my brain from it a little bit, and it did, and I think that was a really good shout, because this was so much better than You and Me on Vacation. So much better, and I think if I'd have read this first, that would have given me a better introduction to Emily Henry's writing, although also I would have been even more disappointed then by You and Me on Vacation. So I think I did do it in the right order, but I definitely preferred this, and I think for me it definitely hit much more than I was expecting it to. I think it had a really nice, easy writing style. There was nothing amazing stand out about it, but it just flowed well, and I liked the romance side of it as much as it did make me sad with certain things. Okay, if you want to see more of my full thoughts on this, I did do a reading vlog with more live reactions for this and for You and Me on Vacation. Shockingly, it was a Reading Emily Henry for the first time vlog, but I did really like this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Quay Mai. This book, I mean, I'll just say now, this gets book of the month. This was just brilliant and heartbreaking and emotional. This is following 2 different characters, one of whom is a grandma recounting her story and her time from the 1940s in Vietnam onwards to her granddaughter, who is experiencing the Vietnam War, and it's her telling her granddaughter these stories whilst her granddaughter's experiencing her own experiences within the Vietnam War. And hearing both of these experiences going alongside each other, there is a lot of hardship in this book. There is a lot of heart and emotion, and clearly very real experiences. Whilst this is a fiction, is based on things that have really happened, and obviously you can tell there's so much research that's gone into this to be able to create something that reflects so many people's actual experiences. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking. I read this as part of a video that I am currently still filming. I'm coming to the tail end of that video, but that video will be live in a month or so from when you're watching this. I'm pre-filming everything at the moment because I'm going to be in Vietnam and South Korea at the end of this month and the start of next month, so everything's being pre-filmed. So I'm gonna talk properly about this book in that video, but I gave this 5 stars. It was honestly, it was amazing. It was beautifully written. It was so visual and so heartfelt. I don't need to say anything more. It was amazing. The vlog will be coming soon and you can see more thoughts on this, but 5 out of 5 stars for this. The other books I read are all part of reading vlogs that I haven't actually finished yet. I mean, this one is, but I just had to talk about this as a 5-star read because I can't do this wrap up without. So I'm kind of touch on what these other ones are, but not tell you too many thoughts about them or my ratings because I don't want to spoil the vlogs. So we're just going to whiz through these. So first is Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. This is a queer romance zombie apocalypse novel, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it. No, I can tell you more. It's set around a lake. These people have kind of created this society in this lake to survive the apocalypse, and the lake freezes over in the winter, and that causes an issue because obviously the zombies can walk across the lake and get to them easier. And it's part of a series. I think I'm running out of things I could tell you. I don't want to say my thoughts on this because I don't want to ruin the vlog, so I read this and I'm not going to tell you the rating. Oh, I'm just being annoying now, but I don't want to ruin the vlogs. This is what happens when you pre-film. I also read Feed by Mira Grant. This is another zombie book. What could the vlog be? This is a pseudonym, or Shannon Maguire is a pseudonym. One of them is a pseudonym. They're the same person, Shannon Maguire and Mira Grant. Very different style from the Wayward Children series. Chunky. This is kind of future technology, zombie, modern day society has kind of retained throughout the zombie apocalypse, and this is the aftermath type of story, following some bloggers who are reporting on a presidential campaign as the people are just living within the world of the zombie apocalypse. Interesting concept, interesting concept. Not going to say anything more, not going to give you a rating again because I'm being annoying. I'm going to make you wait till the vlog. Then I read Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Cooper Smith. Again, this is one that I read for my Vietnam reading vlog where I'm reading books set in Vietnam before I go, which is not live yet either, so I'm not going to give you full thoughts on this. This one follows 2 characters in 2 different time periods who both experience... One of them experiences something very strange and the other goes missing, and it's about how these link together. It's a kind of gothic horror-esque, kind of fantasy, kind of historical. There's so many different genres going on here, but you will have to wait for my vlog to know my thoughts on this. I know I gave you my thoughts on The Mountains Sing, but that was because it was 5 stars and like my favourite book of the month, so I felt like I had to talk about that one more, and it's pretty clear as soon as I start the vlog how I felt about that book. Whereas this one, this took me on a bit of a roller coaster, so again, that vlog will be out next month, but I read this. And then I ended the month on Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Jane Austen and Seth Graham Smith. This is a spoofy retelling of Pride and Prejudice with zombies in it. It's very funny and very strange as a concept, and I, the whole time reading it and in the vlog, was saying how interested I would be to see Jane Austen's take on this book. So again, I'm not giving you thoughts on this one because you will have to watch the zombie reading vlog, which is coming out very soon from the date that this video goes live. Sorry, I'm being very cloak and dagger, but gives you excitement. Aren't you very excited now? Aren't you like on the edge of your seat for the zombie reading vlog and for the reading books set in Vietnam reading vlog? You should be. I have actually put a lot of effort into those vlogs, so please do be excited for them. But that is my 12 book wrap up. I don't know how I read 12 books. Why did this happen? I keep trying not to read so many books each month because it gets overwhelming with like remembering everything I've read and processing everything I've read. But I'm doing so much content at the moment where I have to read specific books to cover my content for the next 2 months that everything I'm reading lots basically. I'm reading lots. Anyway, 12 books read. The Mountains Sing was my absolute fave. It was just brilliant and it stays in my head long after I finish reading it, and I'm recommending it to everybody. And I feel honoured to be able to visit Vietnam and see the country's history through the books that I'm reading, but then go to actually see it in person is going to be an amazing experience, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful country. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed my 12 book wrap up with books that I didn't really talk about or wrap up. But anyway, 12 books are read. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Oh, and subscribe. Hit subscribe and the bell thing for when those videos do go out so you don't miss them. But you've got one coming very soon and one's like next month because that is how in advance I'm filming. Anyway, I am rambly today. I'll see you in the next one.